New Orleans police leaders say they're confident the department is close to reaching total compliance with the consent decree. The NOPD has remained under the decree for more than a decade. It has ushered in a number of course corrections within the department. Last week, NOPD leaders went before the federal judge overseeing the consent decree to present on that final category it's seeking compliance in: bias-free policing. They talked about their strides in implementing training that's culturally inclusive, providing translation services in the field for a number of different language speakers, and stepping up outreach in the city's LGBTQ community. Deputy Chief Nick Gernon says the final step is for the NOPD to take a hard look at the data.
Not only are we looking to have an audit that tells us we eliminated bias, but we're looking for red flags within those audits to tell us, are there areas that we need to more specifically interrogate the data on to see if there's a policy issue, a training gap, or perhaps a systematic, approach to something that might have some outcomes which are, which have unwanted bias in them.
The next hearing in June will be the department presenting the numbers from the audits to confirm that, in fact, the department isn't engaging in and practicing bias-free policing. Once that's presented to the court, I believe that that is the last hurdle that the department has to clear.
Rafael Goyeneche with the Metropolitan Crime Commission says the consent decree has been productive for reform at the department, but has also cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. The next hearing is June 5th. In the French Quarter, businesses welcome the reopening of the Rampart streetcar line. The line reopened Sunday, 5 years since the Hard Rock Hotel collapse. A variety of factors delayed in the Regional Transit Authority's planned reopening, including concurrent city projects, supply chain issues caused by the COVID pandemic, and Hurricane Ida. Repairs had to be made to the wiring and to the line itself. For years, businesses in the Rampart corridor say the business ecosystem in the area just hasn't felt the same, and were excited when the familiar sounds of streetcars filled the air. Employees in the area also say they now have an added option for commuting to work.
It helps to show that New Orleans is thriving again, because a lot of things were shut down for so long. That seeing the streetcar means that people who work down here can get to work. It means that more tourists can come to this area. It means that even people who are from here that don't necessarily want to drive now have ability to get right here, especially for big events and holidays. The traffic's crazy.
The Rampart streetcar line will run every 30 minutes from just before 6 a.m. to just after midnight. Existing bus service along the corridor will continue as scheduled. And during one of the busiest weekends of festival season, our cameras caught people pushing a dangerous drug in plain sight.
What is that? What is that? Helium?
Nitrous. What?
Just steps away from Jazz Fest and on Frenchman Street, dealers targeted tourists with fistfuls of balloon filled with nitrous oxide. Police say while they made 2 arrests, they can't always confiscate nitrous oxide tanks. And in one case, left the potential evidence right where a business manager says it was stashed by a dealer. Tonight on Fox 8 News at 10, Rob Krieger details what steps the NOPD has taken to get some nitrous dealers off the street, and why it says it still does not have a way to confiscate the evidence of dealers supplying a high in some situations. In Baton Rouge, a proposed bill that will remove time limits for people who molest children to be prosecuted moves out of the full House of Representatives. The bill is from Representative Tim Kerner of Lafitte. It removes time limits for prosecuting people accused of molesting a juvenile or people with mental and physical disabilities. Kerner spoke briefly on the House floor before the measure was passed on a vote of 96-0.
I've talked to so many people since I was asked to run this bill, and it's just our duty to protect the children of the state of Louisiana.
The proposed bill now moves to a Senate committee for consideration. And the family of a Thibodeau teen who police say was mentally and physically abused speaks out to Fox 8.
When she tells her story, everyone's going to see how hard she fought to be here. She fought them to be here every day, all day. She's in good spirits. She is laughing. She has her days, but she's thriving. She's fighting. She's surviving.
Timothy Johnson and his wife Latricia say their relative is in a hospital recovering from horrific injuries. Police say the 15-year-old was sexually assaulted for months in a Terrebonne Parish trailer, set on fire and shot in the face and chest. The Johnsons started a GoFundMe to cover the medical costs. To find out how you can donate to her mounting medical bills, look for this story on our website, fox8live.com. Former New Orleans model and convicted sex offender Dean Kelly pleads not guilty to a number of crime charges. Kelly is accused of rape, sexual battery, and failure to give notice as a sex offender. He's been out on bond since December. Previously, Kelly spent nearly 10 years in a prison for sex crimes and a murder for hire plot to kill 4 people. Earlier this month, the Orleans Parish DA's Special Victims Unit filed former charges against Kelly for failing to register as a sex offender and not disclosing his sex offender status on social media. The DA's office says anyone contacted by Kelly on these platforms should immediately contact the NOPD. And some residents in East Jefferson Parish say they're worried about the deterioration of the Pontchartrain Lakeshore near the Kenner Levee. The Army Corps of Engineers says the deterioration began 3 years ago during Hurricane Zeta, and engineers have been monitoring the shoreline ever since. The Louisiana Flood Authority says it has requested help from the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority and the Corps of Engineers. The Corps says they are almost done designing a solution, but repair work has not yet been scheduled.
We assessed it for that particular reason. Is there an impact or a threat to the integrity over hurricane season? There isn't in the immediate term. In the long term, there could be, and that's why we'll fix it with a construction project.
The Corps does not believe the integrity of the levee is in jeopardy, but they say they are committed to getting the repairs done. And a bill that would give Louisiana colleges and universities more say regarding tuition cost and fees nears final passage. The state Senate passed the bill with a 35-3 vote. The bill, authored by New Orleans Representative Jason Hughes, would give boards of Louisiana's 4 university systems the ability to set differential tuition for any graduate, professional, or high-cost undergraduate programs. The bill would also give the boards complete control over mandatory fees. As of now, Louisiana requires a 2/3 majority legislative vote to change any tuition cost at a public college or university. The bill must go through one more vote in the House before going before the governor. If signed into law, it will go into effect August 1st. In Washington, the Senate will vote on a bipartisan border bill later this week. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer made the announcement yesterday. In February, the initial package, which included border provisions and aid to foreign allies, was stalled by the Senate. Now, he says that he doesn't think all Senate Democrats are on board with this bill, which means it could be tough to get the mandatory 60 votes needed for advancement. President Joe Biden endorsed the border provisions, but some Republicans say it wasn't strong enough. And the Environmental Protection Agency is warning of a cybersecurity threat to public water systems. The agency says 70% of the water utilities it inspected don't meet the standards from the Safe Drinking Water Act to prevent attacks. Some of the issues include outdated passwords and easily compromised login information. EPA and national security officials say letters have been sent to governors across the U.S. about the threats and the importance of taking action to repair the issues and create stronger cybersecurity protections. Officials say China, Russia, and Iran have already disrupted water systems with cyber attacks. And if you fly Spirit Airlines, you now have the freedom to change your travel plans. The low-cost carrier announced it has done away with change and cancellation fees. That's something most full-service airlines did during the COVID pandemic. But many of them still charge those fees on their cheapest fares. Spirit's move puts it in line with competitor Frontier Airlines, which did away with the fees last week. Both airlines are struggling to return to profitability post-COVID. Most full-service airlines have posted profits again. Well, coming up, former New Orleans model and convicted sex offender Dean Kelly pleads not guilty in court. Details on the charges he's facing. And crews in Jefferson Parish are monitoring deteriorating conditions of the Pontchartrain Lakeshore, how they're hoping to start repairs before hurricane season.